Okay, I'm back. There's one side. There's the other side. There's the edge view. And what you can see is that that big weird triangular lump that I started with is gone. And I really haven't lost much in the way of length, and I really haven't lost too much in the way of width. And I haven't used indirect at all. Not that I wouldn't have liked to. Ran all the way over there. Okay, I'm kind of putting underneath, holding underneath this. Try and wrap that. I don't want a big bevel or anything. I'm going to wrap it around and kind of hit obliquely and try and make it come down a little ways. Came down here, smoothed out some. I got two platforms again. I do that quite often. See what I did? Oblique, held my finger and pulled it a little bit and made it run down this way. And smoothing into over here, but not making a huge steepness any more than was already there. And you can see how it twisted and followed around that shape. I don't know how you do that without using support. We'll try it one more time, a little bit. And I caught it, and I got to come down to there, but didn't go all the way down, but not bad. I took the front end of that off. Some of the physical work that I did earlier today burned up my my arm muscles a little, and when that happens, it screws up my coordination. That's why I'm missing as much as I am. That was a good blender. So I got another steep area. That's real steep, but I would like to try and eliminate a little bit of thickness by tapping that a few times carefully. Down to there. That one hinged. See, that's why I'm telling you that one hinged too. See, when you hit down low on the edge, I'm trying to just catch the edge because this is too square up here. I can't hit up there. But it isn't working because just capturing down on that edge, I might work better if I squeeze it harder, but it's actually causing it to hinge. So I'm going to stop doing that. No big deal. I'm going to raise this a little more just with an abrader. Just hit it hard with the abrader. Kind of hitting in on it and everything and getting rid of those deltas. But I'm actually taking flakes. It's almost like a pressure flaker. You see me do that a lot. What to do, what to do. I don't even know what I'm making. I guess I can't know what I make till I see what I got left after I get this thing regularized, which it ain't. Still got quite a bit of thickness, so we're not out of the woods. Knock the corner off. It's too low though, bring it back up a little bit. Well, okay, now see this bottom part is flatter and this is more domed. So what I'd like to do is knock down on this so I can shoot back across that and get rid of some of that. But I came in along the thing, so I didn't make a big bevel. Dang it. You can really hurt yourself on a narrow preform by suddenly not thinking and making a real big bevel. Because if you got one real big bevel coming in from the side of your preform, that eliminates a clean point of the width of the preform. The reason I switched to this is to try and more aggressively achieve a greater degree of good from each strike. It's more power and driving in to try and flatten. A lot of the time when people say, well, why do you use indirect? Well, that flake was over there and it ended right there. And that's why I think that I could and am okay with control enough to do a lot of the stuff with direct as far as the control issues. But man, that ability to get into any little crook and crevice and really knock it out of the park and have it be a powerful, nice flake that does exactly what you wanted or more. See, that one came all the way down to there, and I'm just bonking it. I mean, I'm not swinging for the fences. I'm not isolating, I'm not doing anything, just kind of put it on the round part and bonk. But the other thing is, it is really good at getting into tighter places. Like that little bitty steep platform. It's not a good platform. I'm gonna put this up above the edge of it and hit, you know, where my experience tells me to hit, and feather it real nicely into that other feathered stuff. That slipped. Sometimes, in addition to abrading, you need to file your copper. Get your copper unslippery. I saw somebody not long ago that really has a lot of experience well, it's just too steep. I caught a little nub of it and it did really well flat. So now that that's broken right there, I'm going to catch the other little nub next to it. And try that one more time. And all those are working. Every time I get the chance, I tell people they need to go to napkins. And one of the reasons that I feel so strongly about that is because of an interesting phenomenon that I've observed when I go and watch other people. Everybody I watch, for the most part, knows stuff I don't know, and conversely, I know at least one or two things that they don't know. And it's interesting because it just shows the diversity of experience. When you nap a whole bunch and you get around and you talk to people and you see other people's styles and stuff, you just pick up little different tips and tricks, some on your own and some from other people, and cumulatively no two experienced nappers' experience seems to be the same. And so it really made me mad. My memory isn't super great. If I don't go to huge lengths to make sure that something sticks, then I'll have another thought, it'll be gone. And there was something that Marty and I were talking about when I was visiting him, and he said something that I had never thought of before that sounded very useful, and I told myself at the time to remember it, and then later I couldn't remember it, and I still haven't remembered what it was, and it makes me mad because it was just a really good, interesting point about something. I think it was about support, but it was one of those kind of things that was sort of an aha, gee, I want to remember that. I don't know what it was. Okay, well, I'm thinking about trying to do like a little Midland or something out of this. Lately it just seems, my son had found a Midland a while back and I got it cast recently. So that he would have one to display the other side with it, but also because I've come to figure out that there's a lot of people that seem to like to get cast, and I don't have anything. I asked him if he cared if people had cast at this point, and he said no, so and so the guy that made the cast, you know, will have them. But anyway, I guess that's gotten me thinking about Midlands. I like paleo flaking. I like parallel lateral flaking, parallel oblique flaking. I like pattern flaking. In addition to, you know, archaic stuff, random stuff, and different stuff. I did a piece of root beer the other day, parallel. It came out fairly good. I want to someday just make a perfectly done, you know, starting with a raw rock, Eden type point or something with really high quality. I've done some pretty good parallel flaking, And to a certain extent, I don't want it to look perfect because I don't want it to look like I started from a slab when I didn't. But on the other hand, the technical challenge of making it do that really is appealing to me. So in a way, I do want to do that. But it's super hard because when you don't fog it, your edges aren't 100% perfectly symmetrical. And so every push you do has to be a little different to try and, I mean, you're regularizing right up to the end where you're trying to compensate for the differences that exist on the face of the point but also on the edges of the point the whole time you're working it. And towards the end, you know, you're getting closer and closer. It's more and more regularized, but it still isn't. I mean, it's not fogged. So it's a heck of a challenge. See, I still got that original dished out area. So I'm having to be careful on that side. I'm trying to preferentially bring that side in and create convexity, so at some point you know, it's a little bit longer there because of this natural difference. That's still original cortex. And it's a little bit longer, so in a way I'd like to bring this in and have that much, a little bit more room to mess with on the point. But I've got that, and I thought about, well, should I try and, you know, do some thinning from this back end, which I probably should. It needs to be thin anyway. But I don't have an edge there. I still got quite a bit of thickness. That's the thing with this stuff. Like I said, it's dense. And so it seems like almost every flake you take is just a tiny bit shorter than it would have been if you'd been working a different kind of rock. It's like you're working it underwater, it's stopping itself. I went through that little concavity, a natural concavity. Some people have said, well, you know, you're free-holding these things, and so you're not getting the support right, and you're not getting as much support as if you stiffen it up some. It's a little bit hard for people to see what's happening, but the more I practice it, the more I get to where it's almost like shooting a rifle that kicks hard or something. There's sort of a natural lean into it at the last second that's occurring that tends to stabilize it more than is apparent. A lot of time I'm squeezing tight at the very end of the swing. That time I almost got my finger with the flake. I'm using this thing like a shield sometimes because there's times when I don't use it, I can feel those flakes zip by my finger at like supersonic speed. It's freaky. I mean, it's real fast. You can, I don't know how to explain it, but you know how sometimes when a bug flies by your ear really fast and it sounds like you just got buzzed by a fighter jet? Kind of like that. So I think people need a way to protect their hands. You know, there's times you think you understand the angles, and you think you understand the angle that your flake is going to come off at. But since some of these are overshots, there's not much, or close to overshots, there ain't much of a way that I can hold the back end of it and hold the back edge of it and keep my fingers out of the way without protecting them somehow. And you might say to yourself, why am I using this big indirect when I could be using the small indirect? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Every time I go to use indirect, I think to myself, what are the characteristics of the material I'm wanting to hit? What are its preferences based on its tensile strength and stuff? And how big of flakes do I want to take? What do I want the flakes to look like? How much mass do I need to remove, etc. So there's times when I'm not wanting to take that big a flake, but I'll still use the big indirect. And the reason is because of other considerations like the speed. I'll be right back.